The sky changed before anyone truly believed it could. At first, it was only a shimmer, a strange flicker above the Pacific, caught by satellites and dismissed as a data error. But by dusk, when the shimmer widened into a curtain of molten silver stretching from horizon to horizon, disbelief turned into silence, then into awe, then into fear. The world held its breath. In a small coastal town named Mirai Bay, a young woman named Alara Wynn stood on the pier, wind teasing her dark hair, watching the heavens ripple like water. She wasn't a scientist. She wasn't anyone famous. But as she whispered, "It's beautiful," and wrong, her voice trembled with the same unease that echoed in millions of others around the globe. By midnight, the curtain opened, and they came. Columns of light descended, smooth, soundless, and deliberate. From them emerged beings of glass and light, tall and elegant, eyes like molten stars. They spoke without mouths. Their words, a vibration, felt deep within the chest. "Children of Earth," their voices said, "we come in observation and in judgment." The broadcast echoed across every device, every speaker, every human heart. Panic followed like thunder after lightning. Governments scrambled, scientists wept, and priests fell to their knees. Yet amid the chaos, humanity listened. The beings called themselves the Aurelian Assembly, explorers of lesser worlds. They had come to measure the intellect of mankind. But their tone, smooth, condescending, almost musical, wasn't that of explorers. It was that of judges at a contest they believed already decided. "We have watched your wars, your pollution, your divisions," they said. "You are amusing." That word burned like acid. In Mirai Bay, Alara felt something stir inside her, an ancient human ache that had always resisted condescension. She wasn't a soldier, a politician, or a genius. She was an engineer, someone who built small things that worked hard. But that night, as the skies blazed silver and alien laughter hummed through the atmosphere, she clenched her fists and whispered, "We're not your joke." Across the world, the same spark ignited. In Geneva, a linguist named Dr. Aaron Cole analyzed the alien harmonics and realized they weren't just speaking, they were mocking. Each vibration carried undertones of ridicule. The Aurelians weren't here to learn. They were here to parade their superiority before a primitive species. In Tokyo, a group of coders, engineers, and dreamers gathered online, streaming real-time data, patterns, and frequencies. Their chat's title was simple: "We Answer." In Nairobi, a farmer paused his tractor beneath the glowing sky and muttered, "We survived drought, hunger, plague, and greed. We'll survive this too." His words, though unheard, carried the same quiet defiance that had built every stone of human progress. And on the moon's dark side, where a secret research station monitored deep space signals, Commander Ria Solis stared at the alien vessels and said to her crew, "If they came to judge, let's make them rewrite their verdict." The world was divided no longer. By dawn, the Aurelians had established their testing grounds, vast energy fields above major cities shimmering like invisible domes. Within these, they claimed, humanity would demonstrate its worth through intellectual and moral trials. They broadcast images of their own conquests, fallen civilizations, burnt skies, and worlds turned to dust under the gentle mockery of their judgment. To them, humanity was only another page in a long record of disappointments. But to humans, something ancient and fierce awakened. Not hatred, something sharper. Pride. Alara joined the global team We Answer. Millions did. It wasn't about governments anymore, it was about Earth. Humanity's messy, beautiful, chaotic unity rose again. The Aurelians laughed, an ethereal, shimmering sound, but humanity no longer listened. For the first time, the invaders hesitated, not out of fear, but curiosity. "Your defiance is quaint," they said, and humanity replied with the oldest defiance known to existence. They began to build, under silver skies, across borders and languages, hands and minds united. Engineers, dreamers, children, poets all poured their hearts into something unseen yet alive, an answer worthy of Earth. Alara watched the lights above and smiled, a tear rolling down her cheek. "They came to mock," she whispered. "Let's give them a masterpiece." The curtain shimmered brighter. The first test was about to begin. The dawn after the Aurelians' arrival didn't feel like morning. It felt like a challenge. The air hummed faintly. carrying a rhythm that wasn't wind, wasn't machine, but something older and watching. Across the world, every city under an Aurelian testing ground waited. The sky gleamed silver blue, and the air held that strange heaviness of something about to happen. In Mirai Bay, Ilara hadn't slept. Her small workshop was crowded with cables, processors, and screens streaming data from the We Answer network. The world was now a single beating heart of connection. Scientists, engineers, artists, children, all sending thoughts, signals, and hope into the same stream. But as sunlight bled through the curtains, her laptop flickered and froze. Then it spoke. Trial 1. The problem of understanding. The voice was everywhere at once, through every screen, radio, and pulse of the Earth's magnetic field. Your kind claims intelligence. Prove it. We will transmit a pattern. Interpret its purpose before your sun completes one rotation. Failure will end your participation. It was both a puzzle and a threat, and with it, a wave of brilliant light washed across the testing grounds, visible only through instruments. Within seconds, the entire digital grid lit up with streams of alien data, fractals, harmonic codes, and geometric language that twisted through 10 dimensions. Scientists called it impossible, but humans had a strange relationship with that word. Ilara stared at the data, scrolling down her screen like falling stars. "It's not language," she murmured. "It's motion." Her friend Aaron, now linked through the We Answer channel, nodded from his lab in Geneva. "I think you're right. They're describing a behavior, not an object. The Aurelians communicate through energy resonance, through what they feel, not what they say. So, to answer them," Ilara said softly, "we have to feel too." Hours passed. Some despaired, some argued. Others, like Ilara's small online team, simply listened. The pattern wasn't just numbers. It was a heartbeat, a pulse, a map of thought. It described connection. Then, something clicked. Ilara leaned back, eyes wide. "They're mocking our chaos. The code's rhythm. Every repetition reflects human disharmony. But what if the answer is harmony itself?" Aaron blinked. "Harmony? Yes," she said, smiling through exhaustion. "They want us to prove we can align, not just minds, but hearts. We have to synchronize across the world." Within hours, musicians, mathematicians, coders, and artists collaborated like a single mind. Music studios turned into data hubs. Orchestras from Paris, Seoul, and Buenos Aires played in unison, sending their live frequencies into the We Answer stream. Each note corresponded to a pulse of the alien code. When the global signal reached resonance, one perfect wave of sound and light, the Earth itself shimmered. The curtain above the Pacific rippled once. Like a surprised breath, the Aurelians appeared again, silhouettes of light against the trembling sky. Their leader, or what passed for one, tilted his radiant head. "You sang to us?" Ilara, now standing among a group of human representatives connected by holographic link, spoke softly but firmly. "You asked for understanding. We answered in the oldest way we know. You turned chaos into unity," the voice said. "A curiosity." The alien eyes glowed brighter. "You pass your first trial. Yet know this. What follows will not be of sound, but of spirit." And with that, the lights vanished. The world erupted in celebration. For the first time in history, every nation had worked together, not to fight, but to understand. There were tears, laughter, and songs that echoed through the night. But in the quiet corners of Mirai Bay, Ilara didn't feel triumph. She felt warning, because in that brief shimmer of alien light, she'd seen something in the Aurelian gaze, something like fear. Not fear of humanity's strength, but of its heart, and she realized the Aurelians hadn't expected this. They hadn't expected humans to answer beauty with beauty, fire with song, judgment with unity. That night she stood on the pier again, looking at the stars. The ocean whispered softly beneath her feet. She knew there would be more tests, harder, crueler, deeper. But for the first time she wasn't afraid. She was human. And that meant something that the Aurelians, those cold ancient beings, had never truly understood. Humanity didn't need to be perfect. It only needed to care, and in caring it became unstoppable. Above her the sky trembled faintly again. The second trial was coming. Ilara whispered into the wind. "We're ready." 3 days passed after the first trial. 3 days of stunned joy, disbelief, and quiet pride that wrapped around the planet like sunlight after storm clouds. Humanity had done it. They'd answered an impossible question with unity and heart. But even in victory, the sky never stopped shimmering. At dawn on the fourth day, the Aurelians returned. Their vessels appeared without sound, vast shapes of shifting crystal that reflected the ocean and mountains below. From them, a voice swept across every corner of the globe, smooth and cold as the vacuum between stars. Trial 2. The Test of Spirit. We have measured your minds. Now we shall measure your soul. Ilara stood in her workshop, her hands trembling slightly as she watched the silver light expand across the horizon. They're changing the fields, she murmured. Aaron's face appeared on the wall screen from Geneva, pale with fatigue. They're projecting something new. Not data this time, it's emotional resonance. They're trying to feel us, but why? He sighed. Because they think they'll find weakness there. And indeed, that was the test. Across the world, the Aurelians flooded the testing grounds with illusions, memories, fears, grief. They called it the mirror. Every human within range began to see their deepest sorrow reflected before them. Lost loves, broken dreams, moments of failure that had never healed. The sky above each city became a tapestry of every human pain. Replayed for all to see, the world fell silent. In Mirai Bay, Ilara's illusion took form before her. A small boy, laughing by the shore, his hand reaching for hers, her brother. Noah gone since she was 12. He looked up, smiling the same gentle smile she remembered. Why did you stop building sandcastles, Ilara? He asked softly. Her chest tightened. Because they kept washing away. Then build again, the illusion said, voice fading like wind. That's what you always told me. And then he was gone. Ilara collapsed to her knees, sobbing quietly. Around the world, billions experienced the same storm of grief. The Aurelians watched, expecting despair, division, collapse. But what they saw instead was something they had never encountered before. Humanity didn't crumble. It held. In the flooded streets of Mumbai, strangers embraced. In a quiet square in Rome, thousands sat together in silence, hands clasped, tears shared freely. In space, aboard the lunar base, Commander Ria Solis stood before her crew and said, We hurt together. We healed together. Everywhere, people reached out, not to hide their sorrow, but to share it. Ilara wiped her tears, took a trembling breath, and turned her screen toward the global channel. Listen to me, she said, voice breaking but strong. They think pain means weakness. Show them it means love. All around the world, humans began recording messages, songs, memories, testimonies of love lost and found, of endurance through tragedy, of laughter after tears. The We Answer network pulsed brighter than ever before, carrying the raw emotion of billions into one unified signal. The Aurelians, watching through their vast crystalline minds, faltered. Their frequencies wavered. Their glow dimmed. This sensation, one of them whispered across the ether. It burns and soothes. It connects. The leader's light flickered sharply. It is chaos. Containment is impossible. Yet it creates, another said quietly. It binds what logic divides. The aliens were fracturing, not from human weapons but from human feeling. Their entire species, built on pure intellect, had never touched empathy. They were built to analyze, not to ache. They had believed emotion was the disease that ruined lesser worlds, and yet here it was, reshaping them. The mirror faded. The illusions vanished. The sky stilled. For the first time, an Aurelian appeared not as light but in a fragile, human-like shape. Tall, elegant, but trembling faintly. You have endured your reflection, it said, voice softer now. Why did you not flee from your pain? Ilara, still trembling, stepped forward. Because pain is proof that we've lived, that we've loved. You wanted to test our spirit, there it is. Silence stretched for a long moment. Then the alien bowed its head. You, pass. The curtain of silver dimmed, leaving the stars to shine freely once more. Humanity, exhausted and tear-stained, looked upward. Not in fear this time, but in wonder. They had shown the stars what it meant to be human. Not perfect. Not pure. But profoundly alive. And in the quiet of that night, as she sat beside the waves, Ilara whispered to the stars, You can test our minds, our hearts, our souls. But you'll never break our humanity. Above her, unseen beyond the black veil of space, the Aurelian Council watched and whispered among themselves. "They are not what we expected." "No," said another, "they are something new." And somewhere in that cold, infinite dark, a seed of respect began to grow. The next trial would come soon, and this time, the Aurelians would not underestimate Earth. The days after the mirror faded were strangely quiet. Too quiet. The sky, once shimmering silver, now lay calm and blue as if nothing had ever pierced it. But humanity knew better. They had passed two impossible trials, and that silence in the heavens wasn't peace. It was the breath before the storm. In Mirai Bay, Alara sat by the shoreline with her tools untouched beside her. She hadn't slept properly in days. Every night she dreamed of the Aurelians' cold eyes, of the way they'd spoken "you pass" with the tremor of disbelief. She could still feel the ghost of her brother's illusion, the way it had hurt and healed all at once. Her communicator beeped. It was Aaron, his face lined with fatigue and hope. "Alara," he said softly, "the next one's coming. They've sent the signal." She closed her eyes. "What's the challenge this time?" Aaron hesitated. "They're calling it the trial of faith." Her brow furrowed. "Faith in what?" He swallowed. "In everything." That night the stars vanished, every one of them. The entire sky dimmed into a dull gray void, no moon, no constellations, no glimmer of hope. Every city went dark, every power source dead. The world entered a silence deeper than fear, and then the Aurelian's voice returned. Trial 3. The test of faith. Your kind clings to light, to proof, to answers. But what remains of you when the universe gives you nothing? Across the world, despair took root. Communications failed. Machines stilled. Satellites fell silent. Humanity, so dependent on its creations, stood naked under a sky that refused to shine. But in Mirai Bay, Alara stood at the water's edge and looked into the darkness. For the first time, she couldn't even see the reflection of her own face. It was as though the world had been erased, and still, she whispered, "We're still here." In Geneva, Aaron lit a candle in the corner of his lab. In Nairobi, the farmer who'd once muttered to his tractor now sat by a fire with his neighbors, telling stories of his ancestors who had survived famine and drought. On the moon, Commander Ria Solis gathered her crew in a dark observation dome, their only light a faint glow from their suit panels. They all did the same thing. They waited, together. But the Aurelians didn't make it easy. "You have no sun," the voice whispered into every mind. "No power. No promise of dawn. How long before you surrender?" And for some, the darkness did swallow them. Panic rose. There were riots, tears, prayers shouted into the night. Yet slowly, something beautiful began to happen too. People started to sing, at first only faintly. One voice here, another there. But soon the melody spread across continents like wildfire. Without light, without power, humanity reached for its oldest tool of survival: hope. Alara listened from her shoreline as the distant echo of that collective song drifted on the wind. A melody built from millions of hearts. She smiled weakly. "That's us," she whispered. "That's our light." In the void above, the Aurelians watched, uncertain. Their sensors reported no energy output, no power, no measurable resilience, yet somehow, the humans endured. They found warmth in one another, guidance in memory, purpose in faith that light would return. "They persist," said one Aurelian voice, uneasy. "Without assurance. Without evidence. Why?" "Because they believe." Days passed in that eternal night. People shared what little they had. Children were born. Old songs returned. Some even painted stars on walls, whispering, "They'll come back." And one dawn, or what felt like dawn, the sky stirred. The stars reappeared. One by one, they flickered into being like embers reigniting across infinity. The moon followed, glowing full and gentle. The power grids hummed alive. The oceans glistened once more. The Aurelians descended again, but this time their light was dimmer, their tone less certain. "We deprived you of everything, yet you remained." Alara stood beneath their hovering forms, her hair tousled by the returning wind. "You can take away the sun," she said quietly, "but not our hope. We carry our own light." The Aurelian leader tilted its radiant head. "Faith in yourselves?" She nodded. "In life, in each other, in the idea that tomorrow matters even when we can't see it." For a long moment the alien was silent. Then its light flickered. Not with arrogance this time, but with something almost like wonder. You have passed again. But know this, your strength comes not from certainty, but from the madness of hope. The next trial will strip even that away. The vessels rose back into the sky, leaving a swirl of silver mist. Humanity exhaled, exhausted, humbled, yet stronger than before. In the quiet that followed, Aaron's voice came through the communicator, shaky but smiling. They keep calling us children, Alara, maybe we are. But we're the kind that grows fast. Alara looked at the stars that had returned and whispered, and we're learning how to stand. Somewhere beyond sight, in the deep of their crystalline world ships, the Aurelians debated endlessly. They are illogical. They are resilient. They should have broken. Yet they shine. And in that endless conversation, a new thought began to rise among them, a dangerous one for beings who had ruled galaxies without compassion. Perhaps they are what evolution was trying to reach all along. The next trial was coming, and this time even the Aurelians weren't sure who would win. The light had returned. The world had breathed again. Yet that breath carried a tremor. Every person on Earth knew. 3 trials had passed, and each had torn deeper than the last. And still, above the blue skies and silver clouds, the Aurelian ships hovered like quiet gods, watching, waiting, learning. For the first time, the invincible seemed uncertain. In Mireille Bay, Alara stood on the pier with her communicator in hand. It hummed faintly, a warning signal that always preceded the next test. She didn't look away from the horizon. "They're coming," she whispered. Aaron's voice came through, calm but tense. "We've picked up transmissions from their fleet. The next trial is different. It's not about intellect, not emotion, not endurance. Why, then what?" He hesitated. "Morality. They're calling it the trial of choice." Alara's heart sank. That sounds like the one that breaks people. Moments later, the sky opened. A spiral of silver light descended, spreading across continents like a network of roots. Every human everywhere felt the same cold voice in their minds. Trial 4, the test of choice. "We will give you 2 paths. One ensures the survival of your species. The other saves a world not your own. You may choose only one." The words echoed through every heart, leaving a weight no machine could measure. And then the vision came. The Aurelians showed humanity an image, a distant planet, beautiful and alive, inhabited by a species unlike any seen before. Fragile, innocent, peaceful, but dying. Their sun was collapsing and their world would burn in days. "We can save them," said the Aurelians, "but only by drawing power from your world's core. Your planet will perish, but theirs will live. Or refuse, and they die while you survive. A choice. A cruel, impossible choice. For the first time, the world was divided again. Some shouted, "Save ourselves, we've earned it." Others cried, "No, save them. They're innocent." Governments debated, religions prayed, scientists despaired, and amid that chaos, Alara sat alone in her workshop, staring at the holographic image of the alien world. She saw their cities, simple and beautiful, full of life. Mothers holding children, elderly ones tending to gardens. The way they looked up at the same stars humanity did, never knowing the debate that decided their fate. She whispered, "They're like us." Once someone must have watched us too. Aaron's face appeared again, drawn and pale. "Alara, if we give up our world, everything we've built, everything we've fought for ends." "I know," she said softly. "But if we don't, what does it mean that we fought so hard to prove we're worthy?" "Worthy of what?" Hours passed. The Aurelians waited, their glowing forms like statues in the clouds. Humanity argued, wept, hoped, feared. But then something quiet began to ripple through the noise. A child in Brazil recorded a simple message that went viral in minutes. Her voice was soft but unwavering. "If someone had to die to save us, I'd want them to know we'd do the same for them." That sentence broke something open. Across the world, voices joined in, not of defeat but of compassion. People sent messages, artwork, songs, and simple notes of love directed at the unseen world, hanging in the Aurelians' holographic projection. The message was clear. Save them. Alara typed the final words into the global feed. "We choose life, even if it isn't ours." The message spread, amplified, unified. Billions of voices, different languages, same heart, And the Aurelians, those ancient beings of logic, watched in silence. They would give themselves for strangers? One whispered. They would trade certainty for mercy. It is not rational. No, said another. It is human. The silver sky flared bright, so bright it turned night into day. For a heartbeat, everyone thought it was the end. But when the light faded, the earth still stood. The air was cool, the oceans calm, and far beyond the stars the dying planet shimmered anew. The Aurelians appeared once more. You chose sacrifice, yet we did not demand it. We merely offered a mirror to your soul. Alara's heart pounded. Then you didn't destroy either world? No. We sought your choice, not your end. The leader's voice softened, almost reverent. We have traversed thousands of civilizations. None have chosen as you did. You are not what we believed you to be. The people of Earth stood silent, united in disbelief and awe. Alara looked up, her eyes glistening. You said we were children. Maybe we still are. But we're the kind that learns to care. For a long moment, the alien forms flickered. Then the leader spoke again, voice heavy with something new, something like respect. Perhaps the universe is brighter for having you in it. And then the ships retreated once more, leaving the stars to burn unhindered. Humanity had passed the trial of choice not by strength or cleverness, but by compassion. Yet deep down, Alara knew one truth. This was not the end. For every test they passed, the Aurelians grew quieter, more thoughtful, and more human. And somewhere in the cold councils of light, a new trial was being whispered, a final one, greater than all before. The air on Earth seemed to hum with a quiet expectation. After the trial of choice, humanity had learned something crucial, that its strength was not in weapons, intellect, or even endurance. It was in the unyielding bond that tied one human to another. Yet the Aurelians were still there. Their silver ships lingered on the horizon, watching, listening, waiting. And the world knew, without words, that this would be the ultimate challenge. In Mirai Bay, Alara Wynn stood on the pier, her eyes tracing the horizon where light and water met. The wind played through her hair, carrying the scent of salt and sea, and yet she felt the weight of billions of unseen eyes. She was no longer alone. Humanity itself had become a presence, one pulse, one heart. The communicator hummed. Aaron's face appeared tired but resolute. Alara, he said, voice trembling. They've transmitted the signal. We know what it is. This one isn't just a test of our choices, or our endurance, or our compassion. This is a test of all of it at once. The trial of unity. Alara drew a deep breath. We've never had to fight alone. Why start now? But even as she spoke, the world's sky shifted. The silver veil returned, this time stretching not above cities but over continents, oceans, mountains, covering the earth in an ethereal web. Threads of light pulsed in rhythm with the planet itself. Trial 5, the test of unity. The Aurelian's voice resounded deep and resonant. You have survived intellect, spirit, and compassion. You have chosen others over yourselves. But can you act as one being, with one mind, one will, and one heart, or will your divisions destroy you? Instantly, the signals of every human mind were pulled into a single field of resonance. Every thought, every emotion, every fear and hope was exposed, shared, intertwined. In an instant, humanity felt itself in full. The loneliness, the love, the pain, the joy, all flowing through billions of hearts as one living river. And with it came a terrible awareness. Any hesitation, any selfish thought, any division could shatter the process and perhaps the earth itself. Alara's hands trembled over her equipment, linking her city's networks into the We Answer channel. She could feel it, the collective heartbeat of humanity as sharp and fragile as glass. Aaron's voice cut across the network. We have to synchronize. Every pulse, every act of thought and creation, it has to be aligned. From Moscow to Mexico City, from Tokyo to Nairobi, humanity moved as one. Scientists collaborated with poets, soldiers with children, musicians with engineers. They harmonized not just their minds but their souls. A single goal emerged, to prove that together they were more than survival. They were resilience, creativity, and life itself. The Aurelians observed, their crystalline forms flickering uncertainly. They had ruled entire galaxies, judged civilizations, observed the rise and fall of stars. And yet this single species, chaotic and flawed yet bound in defiance, was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Alara felt tears stream down her cheeks. Hold it, she whispered, not to anyone in particular, but to all who could hear. We are humanity. One heart. One world. One answer. The silver threads above Earth pulsed faster, brighter, as if reacting to this unprecedented unity. Every human action, every heartbeat, every thought resonated in harmony. Oceans reflected the glow. Mountains shimmered with energy. Cities hummed as one vast organism. And then a wave of light, a force unlike any weapon, unlike any signal, shot upward into the void. The Aurelians were caught in the brilliance, their forms flickering, shifting as though the energy itself could overwhelm even them. They are one of the Aurelians murmured. Yet still they retain individuality, impossible. It is beauty, said another voice almost reverent. It is everything we never knew we lacked. The threads of light collapsed gently, folding into the planet, leaving Earth whole. Humanity exhaled in unison, trembling, exhausted, and radiant with the knowledge of their own power. The Aurelians descended one final time. The leader's crystalline face shone softly. We sought to mock you. We sought to judge you. We expected weakness. Instead, you have surpassed even what we could imagine. Ilara stepped forward, heart pounding. We are human, imperfect, stubborn, and unpredictable. But when we stand together, nothing can break us. For the first time, the Aurelians did not speak as one, silence stretched, filled with something they could not quantify. Then the leader finally said, We have never seen unity such as this. Perhaps you are the answer we have been searching for all along. The silver ships lifted, their lights dimming against the bright sky of Earth. Humanity watched in awe, knowing that they had not only survived the trials, they had proven the very essence of life itself. Ilara turned to the horizon. The wind whispered through her hair, carrying the voices of billions. Together they had shown the universe what it meant to be human. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Aurelians carried a new thought, one that would echo across galaxies. Perhaps the children of Earth are not to be mocked. Perhaps they are to be admired. And humanity, radiant in its imperfect, chaotic glory, prepared for whatever the universe might throw next, united more than ever. The sky was calm now, but the memory of silver light lingered in every heart. Humanity had endured trials that would have broken empires, yet the world remained alive, united and unbowed. In Mirai Bay, Ilara Wind stood on the pier, her toes brushing the cold water, the wind teasing her hair. For days she had waited, listening to the subtle hum of the planet and the whispers of billions across the We Answer network. Humanity had passed intellect, spirit, compassion, and unity, but the final reckoning was upon them. The Aurelians were silent, and in silence the weight of expectation pressed upon the earth itself. And then the sky shifted, not in silver, not in shadows, but in light. A cascade of colors, vast and impossible, unfurled across every horizon simultaneously. It was not fear that moved the people of Earth, it was awe. The ships of the Aurelians descended, but now their forms were smaller, reflective, almost tentative. They were observing, not asserting. Trial final. The judgment of continuity. The voice vibrated across the planet. You have survived all previous challenges, yet you remain unpredictable. Your civilizations are frail, your minds scattered, your histories flawed. Show us why your species should persist in the cosmos. Humanity paused. No engineer had a formula, no politician a decree, no general a weapon that could answer such a question. And yet all around the world the answer had already begun to rise. From children laughing in playgrounds, to poets reciting words into the night, to farmers tending soil with patient hands, to musicians sending notes into the wind, the answer was simple: life itself. Ilara felt it in her chest, in the pulse of the water beneath her feet, in the hum of the planet. She spoke into her communicator, her voice carrying far beyond Mirai Bay. We are human. We endure, we hope, we create, we fail, and we rise again. We laugh, we cry, and we love. And in all this chaos, all this imperfection, we continue. Across the globe, millions joined her, not as leaders, not as scientists, not as soldiers, but as humans. Their voices, their hands, their hearts joined in a single crescendo that swept across continents. And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. The Aurelians faltered. Their forms wavered as if caught in a current of energy they could not measure. They had faced countless civilizations, conquered countless worlds, judged millions of species. And yet never had a species answered in this way. Never had a world shown resilience born of love, creativity, and unyielding spirit. How? One of the Aurelians whispered, crystalline voice trembling. How can so much fragility create such strength? It is the way of life, said another softly. It is the way of humanity. The light above the oceans shifted and the Aurelians' presence softened. They circled slowly, as if reconsidering every assumption they had made. Then, in a voice tinged with awe rather than judgment, the leader spoke. We came to mock you, to measure you, to dismiss you as inconsequential. Ilara's voice was steady, unwavering. We are more than you imagined, not because we are perfect, not because we are flawless, but because we endure together, against everything. The Aurelians' forms shimmered and folded into the sky, leaving a single message carved into light above the horizon for all to see. Earth is alive. Humanity is remarkable. Let no one underestimate this world again. And then they were gone. The oceans whispered. The wind danced. Children laughed as if the day had always been theirs to claim. Humanity exhaled collectively, with the weight of all trials lifted yet aware of what had been proven. Ilara stood on the pier, looking at the horizon where the ships had vanished. She smiled through tears. They came to mock us, she whispered, and they found themselves challenged instead, by humans, by Earth. In that moment, the planet itself seemed to pulse in harmony with the people upon it, a heartbeat strong, resilient, and unyielding. Humanity had not only survived, they had made the universe take notice. Somewhere far away, in the void between stars, the Aurelians carried the story of Earth, a world of imperfection and chaos, yet brilliant in its resilience. A species that refused to be measured, dismissed, or broken, and for the first time in millennia they were silent. In respect, Ilara turned back toward the town, toward the people who had persevered, toward the future that awaited them. Humanity had faced impossible trials, survived mockery, endured doubt, and yet still stood proud. And one truth rang clear across the blue sky, across the mountains and oceans, across every heart that beat on Earth. To underestimate humans was the universe's first mistake, and in that truth, the answer of Earth was written, not in data, not in war, not in conquest, but in the enduring spirit of humanity itself. The world had been tested, judged, mocked, and the humans had answered with life, with hope, with unshakable, beautiful, unstoppable humanity.